And one of the things that strikes me as so utterly absurd, it's partly why I found your book so interesting, is that somehow the people who are making such arguments have gained the moral upper hand.
Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on. I mean, I think one thing, why do they have the moral high ground? And this is something is really a core mission of mine to correct, is that, as I mentioned before, they really owned the issue of a good environment starting in the 60s, including loving nature, including caring about clean air and clean water, and more recently, caring about safety from climate. And that the pro-capitalism side really didn't concern themselves too much with this, rhetorically at least. And so the anti-capitalist side was able to own this issue. And when you own something as important as our environment and our planet, you do get the moral high ground. And then they supplemented this with this false alternative of you are either a climate change believer who hates fossil fuels, or you are a climate change denier who thinks fossil fuels are okay. So they created this total false alternative, which made no sense, because what makes sense with climate impact is to weigh it along with the benefits of fossil fuels. You cannot judge a prescription drug by only looking at negative side effects, and you can't judge fossil fuels by only looking at negative side effects or exaggerating negative side effects. You have to look carefully at our climate impacts, negative and positive, and then weigh them against the benefits that come with fossil fuels, including all the benefits that protect us from climate. So there's this false alternative. So what they did is they owned the morality of caring about our environment, and they owned the claim to science, because the climate change denial thing, so-called, didn't make much sense, because it's pretty obvious we impact climate at least some. But so doing those two things, they owned this issue. So people think, well, if I want to be a good person, if I want a good planet, and I want to be pro-science, then I have to hate fossil fuels. And a lot of what I've tried to do, and I think Michael Shellenberger and Bjorn Lomborg and Steve Koonin, I think what we've tried to do is look at climate in a humanistic, full context way. And we're breaking this false alternative, which is a lot of the reason we get a lot of hostility.